Good evening. Welcome everybody. Welcome back to the stream. That's right, it's Wednesday night, which means that it's time for some more New Nerd in Town. How's everybody doing tonight? K-Gun, welcome to the stream. Welcome back, man. How's everything going? I hope you're enjoying yourself, listening to a little bit of Kansas. In fact, that was actually just from a TV, music, and themes list. And if you could guess what show uses that as their theme, I will most likely give you nothing. But I will give you mad props for knowing that. Welcome, everybody. Tonight is a great night because it is like the start of... it is the start of, like, the fall TV lineup. I mean, we've got great stuff coming out. We've also got some, like, we've also got some duds out there and whatnot, but for the most part, we've got some pretty good shows coming out. Mostly pretty good shows coming back. Not just coming out, but coming back. So why don't we just jump right into it? And let's just discuss the TV shows that are out for everybody. It is the fall season. It is upon us. The return of all the fun and great and absolutely wonderful TV shows that are out now for you, for me, for everyone to enjoy. And I mean, it's mind-boggling how much people nowadays just wait for fall to come just because of their TV shows are coming back. And not to say that the summer shows are terrible. The summer shows have actually been doing pretty damn well, if I do say so myself. There's some really good winners out there over in the TV world during the summer. Really stepped up their game. However, the fall season is upon us. And that only means that everyone's favorite drama, everyone's favorite comedy, now I have to say it, everyone's favorite comic book show is coming back or is starting. It's an absolute wonder that people have enough time these days to sit down and watch TV, whether it's live or DVR'd, because there's just so much of it, and we live in this society, in this world where everyone is just on the go, or is always attached to their, I don't even have my phone, but like attached to their iPads and stuff. It's absolutely crazy that people still have time to just sit down and enjoy their shows and everything like that. Daft Taru, what's going on? If you are looking for some great one-on-one sit-down talk about tonight's huge premiere of American Horror Story, go back over to YouTube, or if you're in YouTube watching me right now, because we are live simulcast on Twitch and YouTube, just click on my videos and you'll see that we did a two-parter for American Horror Stories just for tonight's premiere. So at 10 o'clock Eastern tonight, trust me, I am biting at the whatever to get out there and see to watch American Horror Story. So I might even leave early to watch it. But anyway, Daff and I, we did 2 hours of straight up American Horror Story talk. First part of the episode is all about just the two of us recapping everything, not necessarily going like, all right, in season 1, this is what happened. In season 2, this is what happened. We spoke about how great it is of a show, how all the little pieces that make up the TV shows, whether it's the writing, the directing, the producing, the actors, the actresses, the characters, the scenery, anything and everything, the way it smells. If there is supposed to be a certain smell that you're supposed to feel or supposed to smell during a American Horror Story show. But we didn't get to. I mean, both of us definitely would have, but we discussed everything that makes it great. And then the second part is all about tonight's season premiere of season 6. It is maybe one of the best kept secrets um, in modern day, uh, because it's still a mystery and nobody will know until an hour from now. And that's why I'm so excited for it, because for once in this social media run world that we live in, where everyone needs to know everything and then everyone wants to be the first to tell everyone everything, American Horror Story was able to pull the fast one over our eyes. And yes, there are speculations. Yes, there are more. There are better teases. There are clear images of teasers that make things seem a bit more of a realistic storyline than it actually is. But hey, we're still guessing. We're not sitting there saying it's definitely this. So check it out tonight, 10 o'clock. Beforehand, why don't you just head on over to YouTube and watch that video while you have me in the background going all crazy and stuff like that. So K-Gun is sitting there and he's trying to tell me that he saw a commercial for a cop show, and I've been seeing commercials for this show where it's kind of like a vigilante slash like mercenary type dude, but he uses like little household things, like little household items. Like he probably could take like this thing and like blow up like, you know, an entire train or something like that. You know, I don't even know what this thing is. I just found it on my desk. But he was able to uh you know, he's able to do all these things. And that's part of one of the things I wanted to talk about in this TV segment part of the fall shows. And that's the inherent rise of the retro type, of the retro feeling. For some reason, people keep the older generations keep saying that us, the millennials, really like retro things. You know, having a retro phone for our cell phone that actually fits our cell phone into it, so we look, you know, we look like one of those lawyers from the 80s with this giant thing, you know, in their hand, like, hello. But um but what what those people are trying to do is now trying to translate it into our entertainment. Um, you know, giving us that retro feeling of a TV show or a movie, or a movie that is now becoming a TV show, or trying to bring back what even most of us millennials hold dear to our hearts, and, you know, bringing it back to bringing it back to our childhood and saying, hey, you guys love this back in the early 90s. Why don't we just redo it? Use all the technology we have now and just redo it. It seems like a great idea. However, I don't think it really is a great idea. I mean, we've seen this summer alone that a lot of the reboots and sequels of reboots and stuff, they're just flopping all over the place. Like, the movies did not do well at all. The only good thing out of a retro style filmography of any kind, TV and movie, is exactly what Daftaru just said. Stranger Things. Netflix's Stranger Things. The only real reason that I could see why it was such a great hit was because it did retro through and through. It was filmed like an 80s film. It was filmed as if it was being filmed in the 80s. That being said, the child actors in the show were closer to the age that they actually were, and it made it more believable. No more of this Andrew Garfield who's like 25 years old trying to play an 18-year-old, which, yes, it doesn't seem so far off with the numbers wise, but if you look at him, he really couldn't pull off a high school type kid. Tom Holland, on the other hand, who's playing Spider-Man in Spider-Man Homecoming and was Spider-Man in Civil Hours, he looks the part of Peter Parker. I mean, Civil War was a perfect example as to what these filmmakers want to do in order for us to feel that that realistic retro feel. Almost to, you know, to the sense where it feels like I was watching an 80s film. Like someone told me, "Hey man, there's this great 80s movie called Stranger Things. You definitely should watch it." I totally would have been there. Excuse me. Now, um, the the parts of retro that is kind of killing this feeling though is exactly what we're going to be seeing coming into this fall season. Um, it would have it seems as if they're taking popular franchises that worked back in the 80s or at least became cult classics and trying to turn those into TV shows, i.e. the one gif or gif that I use today, MacGyver. MacGyver is being like reimagined as a it's always been called a timeless classic. Well, now they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're reinventing MacGyver. However, there's really not much you can reinvent because it's basically just a guy who takes household items and stops all this sort of devastation or is able to blow up something far, far away from other people. And it was a great 80s show. It was a lot of fun to watch. It's like your Knight Rider, but without the car and with more tinkering stuff. Um, but the um, the real essence of it is the fact that a lot of people still feel MacGyver is a decent character that you could bring back. You could always bring back. You just update him to fit into the current world that we're sitting in. So yeah, he'll have a little bit. He'll have a cell phone now. He'll have a GPS tracker type thing and all this kind of stuff. Um, but will it translate well with this younger audience that sat there and doesn't really know MacGyver or only knows MacGyver as far as like their parents do? It's almost as if we're in the same Ghostbusters type parallel where they rebooted Ghostbusters in a more uh, present type of atmosphere, and they're hoping that the retro feeling will capture the new younger audience yet be interesting enough for the older audience who's known MacGyver and who's watched countless episodes of MacGyver and say, "Hey, this show was really really hilarious. Let's watch it together." It's they're hoping to bring that family dynamic of, "Hey, my kid is laughing at the jokes in MacGyver. I used to laugh at the jokes in MacGyver. Let's watch it together." So it's going to be interesting to see that. Another one of these shows that's being brought back in is Lethal Weapon. Now, Lethal Weapon, I don't believe was ever a TV show. However, it's a movie franchise starring Danny Glover and Mel Gibson. Danny Glover is supposed to be this old, like, retiring cop, not really like he's always fed up and he's saying he's too old for this. Whereas Mel Gibson's the rookie, or not the rookie, but he's the rogue cop that like jumps over cars and tries to shoot and blow up everything and all that kind of stuff. Now what they're doing is they're bringing it to the small screen. So we're gonna have weekly episodes. Not too sure if it's a comedy or if it's a drama. It seems like it's gonna be the same sort of cop comedy slash comedy slash drama show that the movie was, and it stars Damon Wayans, and I forget who's playing the Mel Gibson character. If someone could find that out for me, that would be great. It's bringing action packed, as K-Gun just said. It's bringing that action packed closer in and bringing it into, bringing it back to television because, that's what's pretty much going for it. So there's a lot of retro stuff going on. They're also bringing back Star Trek, but as we all know, Star Trek is built on such a huge universe, and I don't mean universes in space. I mean universes in storytelling. That's why the movies and the TV shows, as I'm being told, that's why they usually can coincide with each other. Not saying that Patrick Stewart will ever meet um, will ever meet what's his name, Chris Pine's Captain Kirk, but um, there is that mentality that, yeah, a lot of these events had already happened way back when people were, um, uh, way back when in the 70s and 60s and 70s when Star Trek first came out. Now they're retelling the story, but it's okay. It doesn't mess with the original storyline because it's in a different type of universe. It's the same story, but it's in a different universe. So it's interesting that they can do that with Star Trek and yet keep bringing it back to the small screen as well as the big screen. Not really too sure if they're going to try to bring the two together, i.e., Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and pretty much every Marvel movie ever, or if they're just going to keep it separate, i.e., DCEU, where Arrow, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, now Supergirl are completely separate. Are completely separate from whatchamacallit. Whatchamacallit. From the movies, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad. So yeah, and Daft, thanks. They're naming it timelines, but I mean, it's Star Trek. It's such a vast universe and such a vast story that even if they were to try to redo everything over again, which would have been dumb, and I hope they're not, they're able to bring it back to television, and it's coming around in I think like October-ish, but it's called Star Trek Discovery, and it should be very interesting. Um, and that and now go now, and that's absolutely true. If someone makes a mistake in one of the universes, you just go back and you make the mistake. Whatchamacallit, you go back and you can just fix that mistake in another universe, in another television show. So it's really all a great mentality. So yeah, and again, I could, there's all these different types of connections in these TV shows and whatnot. Now, speaking of TV shows that actually connect with each other, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. came out with a huge, and that's right, I just did it, huge, um, that's right, Marvel, I can't see. Marvel dropped a huge bomb at San Diego Comic-Con, and that is Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be visited by none other than Ghost Rider. Now, I've seen the movies with Nicolas Cage, or at least I've watched the first one a couple of times, and then I've slept through the second one. It's okay. It's all right. But I have to say that Ghost Rider looks to maybe bring me back to watching Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Kind of lost me a little bit with this whole with putting more focus on the enhanced people, on the enhance, and I was trying to get through it. I even tried rewatching it, and maybe I will just to keep up with it and everything like that. But for the most part, I'm really interested to see how they bring Ghost Rider into this dynamic. And yeah, I have to watch the finale so I know exactly what's going on. But the talent is there, and I mean they've released pictures as of late. He has a car, not a bike. Which, yeah, if this is the first in like the reincarnation of Ghost Rider in the MCU, then yeah, let him have a car. It could be like his earlier, it could be his Mach 1 or something like that, where it's not necessarily perfect, yet you're sitting there like, all right, it's a pretty badass car, I'll let it slide. But it looks really cool, and he looks great, and I hope that they stick with him for most of the series. Now, um, now Gotham, on the other hand, going over to the DC universe, because Marvel, other than Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right now we're waiting for the release of Luke Cage on Netflix. And I don't really know a lot about Luke Cage, except for the fact that he and Jessica Jones sleep together a lot. And he's impervious to most man made objects. Um, you know, I don't really know much about him. So, sorry. So yeah, but DC on the other side of things is Gotham is going full villains. It looks like they're pulling out all the stops. I think they had such a great time um, with the villains in season two, with the introduction of Mister Freeze, with the continuation of Penguin and Penguin finding out who his father is, with the downfall of Edward Nigma into the abyss that is the Riddler. There's this great dynamic for lots of villains to be introduced, and rumor has it Jerome might be returning. That's right, Cameron Monaghan himself might be returning to Gotham. It's been confirmed that he's going to be there, but again, we have to be careful because like I don't want to get too excited that the one character that's the closest to the Joker is excuse me guys is back on Gotham only because it's like a flashback or something like that. If it's a flashback, all right, cool, Gordon has a little time, is reflecting on stuff and how Jerome twisted him and blah 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 blah. That's what it could be, or he could be back from the dead and reanimated. I mean, we saw that in Fish Mooney at the end of season 2. So what's there to say that that can't happen again? And then of course at the end of Gotham we see all the villains being released from the laboratory at the end. So that means that the villains are returning to for more of season 3 for Gotham. So again, we'll see how Gordon takes it on without the obvious help of Batman. They also decided to switch out the actress who plays Poison Ivy. They switched her out for someone who K-Gun, you're too funny. They switched out the actress for Poison Ivy. So now Poison Ivy is meant to be a bit older than she actually was. Now, when Gotham first came out and like once or twice in season 2, she was this young girl, 10, 11, 12 years old, around the same age as Bruce and Selena Kyle. But for some reason, they decided to jump her age to between between Bruce and Selena's age and that of Gordon's age. I hope they address this in the show. Maybe just say that, whatever's running through her veins or something like that made her grow to her full potential or something. But who knows? I mean, sometimes when they do that, usually when they switch out actors or actresses in TV shows, it's because of behind the scenes stuff, but they never do like an age jump. It's not like little Susie went upstairs and then became just Suzanne. It's always little Susie came upstairs and a different little girl is playing little Susie or little Jimmy or whatever. But that is neither here nor there. I hope they do address it in Gotham, because that is going to be a major point which people are sitting there like, she's a little older. Um, the Suicide Squad, the Joker was overhyped. They used him a lot in the promotional material, and he wasn't used that much in the movie. However, um, if you think about it from this point of view, every time we saw the Joker, except for towards the end of the movie, anytime we saw the Joker, it was in a flashback that helped bring up the character bring the character out of Harley Quinn. So most of the scenes, according to Margot, most of the scenes that were taped between her and the Joker were flashback scenes that helped grow Harley Quinn's character. However, it didn't help move the present timeline in the movie. So that's mostly why Jared is not in the movie as much as he should have been. And also, Suicide Squad was an ensemble movie. And as much as I'm a huge Joker fan, I mean, I've got the villain cast to explain it. But as much as I'm a Joker fan, I think he was in it for pretty much the perfect amount that he could be for an ensemble movie. If it was a Batman movie and he was only in it 15 minutes out of the 120 minutes the movie aired, yeah, I'd have a huge problem with that. But it's an ensemble movie. So he fit in the spots where the ensemble needed him, and where he was needed to help motivate Harley Quinn to take on the actions that she took on in the movie. So that being said, so yeah, so this well, I mean, there's only one person, Daftaru, from that quote. Not gonna spoil it, but yeah, so that's what Gotham is trying to bring out, is that villains are awesome. So that's pretty much what we're going on for that. Sticking around with the DCEU, or not the DCEU, CW has now all 4 other DC shows. That's right. Arrow, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl are all now residing on the CW network, which means the most epic of crossover episode arcs ever. That's right. 4-episode crossover, which means Supergirl, the cast from Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow, and The Flash will be all up in each other's business at one point during all of their seasons. Now, we also saw that they've released pictures, and they released the casting of Superman in Supergirl. And yes, I understand it's not Henry Cavill, so all bets are clearly off for Supergirl being part of the DCEU, but we already knew that when the last season aired, so it's not really that hard to go with. But anyway, the um anyway, I'm sorry. I got a little distracted by an email. The What was I saying? So yeah, the most epic 4-episode crossover ever. There's also going to be a musical episode in Supergirl, I believe, or The Flash, or one of them, or something like that. I don't know. Um, but yeah. So all four of these shows are just going to be all about each other. Um, uh, Arrow's dealing with the fallout from his encounter with the villain from season 4, and also the horrible deaths. Um, but the Flash is dealing with, again, breaking the time continuum, and of course we are dealing with more ins and outs with Supergirl. The introduction of Clark Kent and Superman into her universe as he comes into Central City, or whatever they call her city. Not necessarily, it's not Metropolis, but by all means, uh, it should be fun either way. And yeah, so that's all the CW shows put together, all four of the comic book shows. And then there's Supernatural, which the song "Carry On My Wayward Son" is from that. I don't know if you saw it. And they won the Entertainment Weekly magazine cover, beating out Gilmore Girls by only a little bit. But I mean, come on. The following for Supernatural is sickeningly large. So that's really pretty much the only reason why it was that big. Now, speaking of Gilmore Girls, Netflix has decided to bring them back, kind of like they did for Arrested Development, Trailer Park Boys, and a couple of other shows. They're doing a 4-part, 90-minute episode season, and it's going to be based off of, I guess, different seasons. I'm still in the efforts to catch up to it, but this November it comes out. I know it's a little bit closer to winter, and we might be doing an all Gilmore Girls show because then watching all the 6 or 7 seasons that there is will have been for nothing. But yes. Netflix is also coming out with a Gilmore Girls revival, as well as Luke Cage. I'm trying to think of what else is coming out there. Also, we've got some great new shows coming out there. We've been seeing a lot of advertisements, at least in New York, for the show called This Is Us. And speaking of Gilmore Girls, it stars Mr. Milo Ventimiglia, I think. I'm sure I butchered his name. However, he's also of Heroes fame. He played Peter. He played Jess in Gilmore Girls. He now plays a husband to a wife who is about to have a child. There's also a woman who is dealing with her inner demons as she's trying to lose weight, and she's morbidly obese. It seems like a feel-good TV show, but not so feel-good that you're going to be crying at the end. Yeah, I know. I'm sure I butchered his name. But I keep blanking. But it seems like one of those shows that's like true to life, where a lot of people are looking for that these days. They're looking for that sort of realism of I have to it feels like one of those shows that's true to life. So it seems as though it's very, very like close to real life situations and people dealing with real life things. Morbidly obese. Well, pretty much everyone in America is obese in some way. The dealings of a couple about to have a baby and all that kind of stuff. And it just seems like real things. Now we'll see what everyone has in common and why they're choosing to follow their stories in this fictitious world. We'll see. Another show is actually a comedy with Kristen Bell. I forget what the name of it is because I am blanking on all the details. However, she is brought up to heaven where Ted Danson is up there waiting for her, and she's living the good life up in heaven. It is a sitcom. It's actually called The Good Place. So it's called The Good Place, and it stars Kristen Bell, who dies and goes to that place. And it seems like a feel good type of sitcom. What would life be like if you made it to heaven? You could drink all the wine you want without a hangover tomorrow. You can do this, you could do that. There's no possibilities, or there's no rules in heaven. So it'll be interesting to see how that show airs as well. There's just a lot of decent looking TV shows. Not saying MacGyver and Lethal Weapon don't look decent. However, it's just, for me personally, it's almost as if it's like enough with trying to bring back stuff. Like, they're making a Baywatch movie that's gonna have David Hasselhoff in it in some capacity, not in the way that he was in it back then. It'll have Pamela Anderson in some way or form. They're making, a Lethal Weapon TV show. They're bringing MacGyver back. That's all we need is just like more things that used to be popular are now being shoved down our throats. And that's what it kind of feels like. Like, I do enjoy watching MacGyver. I enjoyed, Netflix released their version of Voltron. And yeah, it was good. It was fun. However, I still love the original. If people wanted to, if you want to watch the really good stuff, I'd say watch the originals, because you'll see some of that great retroness or retro greatness that made these shows popular, or at least a cult classic. It's just a little tiring that they have to reinvent, or like you're rebooting and reinventing the same old thing. It's like you're pulling out these old blueprints and like, nah, we could do this with the same stuff that we used back then, just maybe a little bit better or something like that. So on to let's just move right along to the next part.